Tommy Silverstein has been called one of the most violent criminals in America. This is a gentleman I'd never heard of until I was doing some research this week. Tommy Silverstein was jailed for armed robbery in 1977. His status as a prisoner was upgraded to life without parole after he murdered two of his fellow inmates. And he was eventually placed in a no human contact status after killing a guard at the Marion prison in 1983. So here's a man since 1983 has been in solitary confinement. I want you to think about that. A man who's been in solitary confinement for over 30 years. He's entombed at I believe it's a Supermax facility in Florence, Colorado. And he has no contact. He sits in a soundproof, in a cell that's soundproof with a soundproof door, 23 hours a day. He's allowed for 1 hour to go out into a little bit bigger room that's still about as much of a cage as anything else. He's still in solitary confinement. He just has a bigger room to maneuver around in. And in the middle of all this solitary confinement, in the middle of this place that he's kept alone and sequestered from anyone else, he describes that he's experienced depression, hallucinations, disorientation, memory loss, and in his own words, he says that he's gone, quote, beyond the boundaries of what most human beings can psychologically tolerate, end quote. Tommy Silverstein is stuck in a place of loneliness. He's stuck in a place of isolation, and granted, it's because of his own mistakes. It's because of the bad choices he made. But that's not how God created us. Granted, God didn't create us to be a killer either, but God didn't create us to be alone. And that's not how we were made. It's not His plan. It's not what He had in mind for you or for me, to be alone, to put ourselves in a place of solitary confinement for life. That's not what God has for you. That's not living. That's existing. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter number 2. Genesis 2, verse 18. It says, "And the Lord God said, It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper that is comparable to him." Now, in this instance, God was saying, I'm going to create a helper for him. And at that moment, He begins making birds and animals and things and brings them to him. And Adam names every single one of them. But still they find that none of these is a suitable companion. So God took a rib out of Adam and made Eve. And that's dealing with the issue of marriage, and that we're not, celibacy, to me, celibacy is not a good thing unless God calls you to it, unless God equips you for it. Otherwise, self-imposed celibacy is not a good thing, because God didn't make us to be alone. God created us, number one, for man to be with a woman, husband and wife union. But God doesn't create you to be alone, even if you're married. God created you to need fellowship. God created you to need people around you in your life. People who live like a hermit are living in a way that God never ordained. If you want to live that way, that's fine. If you want to be in a Supermax solitary confinement like Tommy Silverstein, you go for it. But that's not how God made you. And by being in a place of isolation, we begin to go through psychologically the same things he was talking about: the disorientation, the problems in our mind with depression. We go through that stuff because God created us to not be alone. In the words of God Himself, we can't trust God. Who can we trust? When the Lord said, "It is not good that man should be alone." It's not good for you to live your life in a place of solitary confinement. It's not good for you to live your life saying, "I don't need friends, I don't need people," because if I allow people to come into my life, I'm allowing myself to be opened up for hurt. True, part of all relationships is the opportunity to get hurt. But the thing that makes your relationships with other people sweeter is not that there's no conflict. What makes your relationship sweeter is working through the conflict to a deeper relationship. If all you're done is stuck in a state of puppy love, that's not going to last very long. Love is not something you feel right off the bat. There's infatuation, there is emotion, there's chemistry, yes. But love's deeper than that. Love is when you've been together for a while and you look at them and realize, with all of their warts and wrinkles and problems that they got, I'd still rather have them than to do without them. For some, it's saying, I could kill them right now, but I choose to keep them and love them and have them in my life. That's when it's love, because it's not what you're feeling as much as is your decision to stay in that relationship. You're not meant to be alone. Not even if you're married and perhaps you and your spouse are fine, but you're still lonely. It's because you need other people in your life. I want to encourage you to open up your heart to new relationships. You might have to open up, you say, well, man, I'm all about new relationships. I want to be loved. I just can't find anybody. It may be that you have to change how you live. It may be that you have to change how you act. It may be that you need to change where you go, or that you have to go to places where people are. I see some people who come to church and they say, well, everybody's already got friendships, so I'm not welcome in this church. Well, start a new friendship circle. Start a new one, because there's other new people around that aren't related to these or a part of these. So find them and start having relationships. Start finding what you have in common. You are not meant to live alone. Lonely is a terrible thing to feel. So try living this week. Try opening yourself up to new relationships. Somebody you may bump into, somebody that you could have something in common. You never know that even the person who seems to irritate you the worst could wind up being one of your best friends. It's all a matter of perspective. Allow yourself to be open and let God bring people into your life that He wants to love and possibly love through you. God bless you. I love you. And I pray that you have a great week. I pray that you have a week that is better than anything you've imagined, because you found love and you're not alone.